lot of NBA players have a lot of obstacles to overcome, whether that be broken families, homelessness, both. But it's always inspiring when they're able to overcome those problems. And we at Basketball Dive think that no story is quite as inspiring as Jimmy Butler's. But his family life is totally different from what you usually hear, and we're gonna go ahead and explain that to you right now. I'm Jesse with Basketball Dive, and this is the inspiring story of Jimmy Butler and his family. On September 14th, 1989, Jimmy Butler was born just outside of Houston in a small town called Tomball. Here, his life would become messy even before he said his first word. Out of nowhere, his father, who is reportedly named Jimmy Butler II, just upped and left his family. So it's time for his mother to be the hero, right? We've heard it many times before. But you see, unlike Derrick Rose, who still had his mother to care for him after his father ditched the family, Jimmy's mom, Londa, got tired of her son when he reached 13 years of age. She kicked him out of the house because of how he looked and actually told him, quote, "I don't like the look of you. You gotta go." No kidding. Jimmy's mom didn't think her son looked good enough to continue living with and decided the streets would be a better parent than her.
My mom kicked me out of my house, to tell the truth. I bounced in and out of guys' houses in high school.
And out in the wildness and uncertainties of the streets, Jimmy went. Just think about it for a sec here. A young kid, 13, just beginning the first stages of puberty, still confused about the world, out there in the cold, alone, and unloved. According to Butler, he said he didn't have anything.
Because I didn't have nothing. Have nothing. I wanted literally slippers, basketball shorts, white tee.
This led Butler to live in the homes of many of his friends from school and from his street. And because he was fond of making trouble wherever he went, he didn't really last long in each home. But trouble or not, things were about to change for the youngster. You see, when Jimmy was around 6th or 7th grade, he quit playing football, which used to be his favorite sport.
First, I started off playing football, but I stopped whenever I was like in 6th, 7th grade.
The reason? Well, it had something to do with his stature and being afraid of getting crushed by players. Fate would lead him to start playing basketball, and this game would of course bring him his long-awaited big break. While he was playing for Tomball High School one summer, he met Jordan Leslie, a 9th grader. Jordan Leslie was born on October 31st, 1991. He attended Tomball High School and, as a footballer, was named to the All-State Pick First Team. He was ranked the number 16 overall player on Inside Texas Top 100 in 2010, and then he led the entire state of Houston in receptions for 2 years. But Jordan didn't shine in football alone. He was actually a versatile athlete in high school, excelling in both track, field, and of course, football and basketball. This is why he had the guts to approach Jimmy for a 3-point contest the first time they met in that fateful summer. After their game, Butler was invited over to Leslie's home, first for video games and then for a sleepover. Before you knew it, one night turned into 1 week and then into 1 month at Leslie's, and soon Butler was part of the family.
I was always like, man, you can stay tonight. My mom won't care, and then I'd just be like, oh, just one more night. And it just kind of developed into a week and then a month.
While Butler went on to attend Marquette University, Jordan would eventually go on to play college football, first at the University of Texas and then finally at BYU in 2014. However, after acquiring a degree in mechanical engineering, he would go undrafted in the 2015 NFL Draft, but nevertheless did get a shot to play for the Minnesota Vikings. Unfortunately, he only stayed on their team a few months before signing with the practice squad of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He would be tossed around more practice squads for a while before retiring in 2019. But even though he didn't have the kind of career he would have wanted, he can be thanked for saving Butler's life. Because when he brought Butler home, he immediately loved being there so much that he hoped he didn't get kicked out anytime soon. For someone who's notorious as a troublemaker, the best thing Butler thought he could do was hide in Jordan's room so his parents wouldn't see much of him.
I felt like if nobody knew I was there, they couldn't get tired of me.
But it wasn't really easy at first. He still had to convince Jordan's parents, Michael and Michelle Lambert, before he was officially a part of their squad. Not much is known about Michelle Lambert's background, but she was previously married to a man who had died, but who she had 4 children with, including Jordan Leslie, of course. And at the time Butler first came around, she was remarried to Michael Lambert, who already had 3 kids of his own. So with 7 children already in the Lambert home, it was hard to accept yet another child who wasn't even their blood. Michelle was also questioned for aiding an African-American child who was known to be a troublemaker, but she said she was just following her guts when she agreed to let Butler stay. Besides, with the way the 7 kids in the house already loved the soon-to-be NBA star, they didn't have much of a choice. Even Michelle's husband Michael had to let Butler stay for good when he saw that each kid wanted Butler for themselves each night. And this automatically meant every day since there were 7 kids and 7 days in a week. Nevertheless, Michelle didn't just let Butler have his way. She imposed a curfew, made him do chores around the house, and told him to work better on his grades. And since the other kids loved him so much, Michelle wanted him to change his ways to become a good person worthy of emulation. She was quoted as saying, "I told him my kids looked up to him. He had to stay out of trouble, work hard in school. He had to set an example. And you know what? Jimmy did it. Anything I asked him to do, he did it without asking questions." Lambert was also instrumental when Butler was faced with the dilemma of choosing a college to attend. She convinced him to choose Marquette University, stating, "He had a lot of offers, but I was impressed by Marquette for academic reasons. That's a great academic school. I told him he should go there because basketball may not work out long term. He needed a good education and a degree to fall back on." Because of her, Butler met a coach, Buzz Williams, who brought out the best in him, making him NBA worthy. And when Jimmy had the chance to be selected in the 2011 NBA draft, Michelle wished beyond anything that he would be given a chance to prove himself, saying, "I hope someone gives him a chance." No one gave him a chance. I guess we did, and look what happened. He finally had someone to make proud of him. If an NBA team gives him a chance, he'll do the world for them. That's what he did for me. Butler also said, quote, "They accepted me into their family, and it wasn't because of basketball. She was just very loving. She just did stuff like that. I couldn't believe it." He also added, "We are all attached at the hip. I give her the credit for helping me become who I am. I love her. You would think that she gave me birth. I talk to her every morning. She's very loving. That's my family. That's Michelle Lambert. She is my mom." As for the family that rejected him, it would make sense for him to hate them, right? Well, Butler sees life a little bit differently from everyone else. Even his father, Michael Jordan, abandoning him as a kid. I'm only joking, but look, Butler does look like Jordan in side-by-side photos, and the similarities otherwise are there. First, Jimmy had played for the Bulls, just like Jordan did, of course. He also looks like Jordan physically, of course, and he stands at 6'7", while his airness is a similar 6'6". And you might even say that he looks more like Jordan than Jordan's 2 legitimate sons, Marcus and Jeffrey. I mean, just look at this picture, man. Or this. Then the NBA legend John Salley, who won 3 championships with 3 different teams, also jokingly called Michael Jordan Butler's dad.
Michael Jordan's son, Jerry Butler, is playing. I'm just joking.
But by far the most believable and jaw-dropping comparison is their on-court resemblance. Michael Jordan is by far more decorated as a basketballer, of course, but the similarities are there nonetheless. They're both clutch players, brilliant both in the mid-range and in the paint. They're both intense challengers, trash talkers, and fantastic on defense. But more importantly, they both know how to carry their teams on their shoulders as a true leader should. But as common as these theories are, they are nothing, of course, but conspiracies, because Jimmy Buckets is not Michael Jordan's son. Besides, Jimmy Butler has finally met his real father, but the details of their meeting weren't really given out. And this is where it gets more interesting. This is why Jimmy is such a special individual. In the early stages of his fame, every time Butler had an interview, he always pleaded with the interview not to tell his story from a sad point of view. He didn't want people to paint his biological parents as bad or for the world to feel sorry for him. Before he was drafted into the NBA, he told ESPN, quote, "Please, I know you're going to write something. I'm just asking you. Don't write it in a way that makes people feel sorry for me. I hate that. There's nothing to feel sorry about. I love what happened to me. It made me who I am. I'm grateful for the challenges I've faced. Please don't make them feel sorry for me." End quote. But here's what's even more fascinating. Butler doesn't hold any grudges against his family. He had an interview with Chicago Mag columnist Brian Smith in 2015, and in their exchange, Butler dropped an unexpected bomb. First, he said he didn't like looking back to the past or letting what happened to him as a kid determine his future. And to get his point across even further, he actually took out his rearview mirror as a reminder to never look back. But if you think that's crazy, then you are in for it, because while most people would hate their parents for abandoning them, Butler is still in touch with his biological parents. and the day Smith visited him for that interview, his father, Jimmy Butler II, was in the house with him. Crazy, right? Well, Smith thought so too and had to ask Butler why, and this was his reply. "It's because I don't ever want that to define me. I hated it whenever it came up because that's all anybody ever wanted to talk about. Like, that hasn't gotten me to where I am today. I'm a great basketball player because of my work. I'm a good basketball player because of the people I have around me. And if I continue to be stuck in the past, then I won't get any better. I won't change. I'll get stuck as that kid. That's not who I am. I'm so far ahead of that. I don't hold grudges. I still talk to my family, my mom, my father. We love each other. That's never gonna change." I mean, this to me is the epitome of an inspirational story. We've seen this man go from homeless to an NBA superstar in the most unbelievable way possible. How he managed to avoid the criminal underground being on the streets like that just simply baffles me. Want to know the way to get killed, honestly, in any city? That's the way to do it. But luckily he was able to make it out unscathed. And ultimately, of course, he became rich and famous due in part to his new family, including his mother, Michelle Lambert. He no doubt also has to thank the rest of the Lambert family, his friends, and his coaches who helped him along the way. Butler has grown from homeless and somebody without any family to someone with family from all walks of life. You're going to see upcoming here how his friends had impacts on his life, including Mark Wahlberg. Yep, that's the one. And of course, the rest of his friends and family he made along the way. First, let's go into his friends, who Jimmy Butler refers to as his ride or die. Jermaine and Ifeanyi are two of Jimmy's closest friends. It's not clear how long they've known each other, but something tells me it's been a while. Anyway, they have known each other for a long, long time. They do everything together except play on the court with Jimmy, of course. However, they do get to play sometimes, and usually they do it like kids. Speaking to Brian Smith of Chicago Mag, Butler revealed, quote, "We go to Walmart and buy like $1,500 worth of Nerf guns. We have flat out wars. And believe me, nobody cares if you have your cell phone." But it's not just play with Jermaine and Ifeanyi. These guys work as hard as Jimmy does, at least according to him. If he was training, Ifeanyi may serve as a strong defender, and sometimes Jermaine may complete a double team to form a stronger D against their superstar friend. Additionally, if he was making any trips, they go with him too. Basically, when Butler works, they work, and when he wants to eat, no matter how big it is, they eat too. He once said of his friends, quote, "I let them choose where we would live this offseason. They chose San Diego. I wanted my guys to enjoy the life we will live for the rest of our lives. They work just as hard as I do." But there is something even more intriguing about these three friends turned brothers. It's how they bet on practically everything silly they do together. They may wager on golf or even on something as silly as drinking dirty water or licking the inside of a trash can for $7,000. They might never do it, but they no doubt bet on who would dare just for fun. But aside from Jermaine and Ifeanyi, Butler has another best friend who many may not know about. He revealed during a show with the Artist and the Athlete podcast that one of his best friends was in fact Kyle Lowry. Kyle and Jimmy have been best friends way before Lowry even joined him in Miami, and it makes a lot of sense why the former Raptor made the decision to play for the Heat in the first place. They first met many years ago when Butler's Bulls faced the Raptors. They were drawn by their similarities in work ethic, competitiveness, and NBA career path. Lowry revealed how their first off-court meeting was planned, stating, "We just talked. It was like, yo, when you come to Chicago, let's go to dinner." "All right, bet. Let's do it." And in case you didn't know, Lowry is the godfather of Jimmy's daughter. Butler said this on the podcast, quote, "He's one of my absolute best friends. He's the godfather of my daughter. And it's just like, as competitive as it is, we're always laughing. We're always joking around. I would say something else, but then the NBA is going to look at this and be like, oh my god, he's tampering." But it makes a lot of sense that Jimmy Buckets has a best friend who plays in the NBA like him. Nevertheless, Jimmy has a lot of room in his heart to accept close buddies from all walks of life. He's friends with the soccer superstar Neymar Jr. They hang out together, dine together, and have even shot hoops on the Miami Heat court together before. But my favorite would have to be his relationship with Hollywood actor Mark Wahlberg. After Chicago was caught in flames during the battle between Optimus Prime and the Decepticons in Transformers: Dark of the Moon, Mark Wahlberg was cast to act in the next part, which came out in 2014. So, during the shooting in 2013, Wahlberg decided to take a break from seeing too many machines to shoot some hoops. This led him to the Bertos Center in Deerfield, Chicago, where the Bulls used to have their training sessions. In there, Mark met Butler, who was thrilled to meet a star and had said about that time, quote, "He was like, I want to play," and we were like, let's hoop. I was like, damn, this is the first big-time famous individual that I've met. The next day, Mark invited him to watch a boxing match with him after renting out a bowling alley, and that was how their friendship started.
He was like, let's go watch the boxing match together. I go watch the boxing match, and then, man, just like a for real friendship just blossomed, like, out of nowhere. But he's, you know, he works hard where he's from.
The two have grown from one being a fan of the other to practically them being best friends. I mean, Jimmy is even teaching Mark's daughter, Gracie, how to play basketball now. Butler would probably kill for Wahlberg with the way the NBA star speaks about the legendary actor, just like when he told Brian Smith during an interview, quote, "I love him to death. He's always asking about me as a person. Forget Jimmy Butler as a basketball player. Hey, you doing okay? Is there anything I can help you with?" I try to pick his brain a little bit. We can also thank Wahlberg in large part for helping Jimmy to maintain his work ethic, which Jimmy also spoke about to Smith. Quote, "I just saw the way he got after it, the way he would train. I was like, you know what? That's probably something a lot of people aren't doing, which is why I started waking up at 5 a.m. to start working out." He was doing it. But if Butler was drawn to the actor because of his work ethic, what made Mark befriend the young Butler who had only spent 2 years in the league and hadn't even made a name for himself really yet? Well, according to Wahlberg, quote, "We just kind of clicked. For me, it's exciting to see a young 20-something-year-old kid who's got the world basically in the palm of his hand, controlling his own destiny." There are so many men in Jimmy's life, right? And it makes you wonder where all the ladies are at. Here they come. Jimmy has a bucket full of ladies in his dating history, and no matter how he tries to keep his romantic relationship secret, they always find a way to hit the spotlight. He has reportedly dated Shay Mitchell, a model and actress who starred on Pretty Little Liars. He also reportedly dated Charmaine Piola, Lolo Jones, Coen Andrade, Rachel A. Demita, and even musicians, Iggy Azalea and Selena Gomez. But most of these have been more rumors than anything, just like when it was rumored that he hooked up with Rachel Nichols in The Bubble. But today we are here for the one that has somehow been confirmed to be his lover, the beautiful Caitlin Nowak. Caitlin Nowak was born on December 13th, 1990, and wears a lot of hats. She is a model, social media influencer, and blogger, and just like her father Michael Nowak, she is an entrepreneur. Her mother is a director and entrepreneur as well. Caitlin is Polish-American and had gone to Omaha South High School before finishing with a degree in advertising, public relations, and applied communications from the University of Nebraska. But this is where it gets interesting because while every source out there confirms that she and Butler are together, there are practically no pictures or videos of them actually being together. They were reportedly spotted together with friends and family during the Super Bowl in 2020, but no image was available to confirm that either. Even Jimmy's daughter Riley, who they reportedly had together in October 2019, has not been confirmed by either parent. Anyway, while Jimmy Butler is doing his best to keep his daughter out of the limelight, let's watch Dwayne Wade do the exact opposite with his kids. One of his kids has been in the news a lot lately, one might argue even more than her famous father. Anyway, not to waste your time, why don't you just go ahead and click this video and that'll teach you everything you need to know